Hey.
Those get covered in those things in this country?
Oh, I just can't put my shoes on, so it's easier to slip these on. uh, Afternoon. Excited to go to Missouri, place we haven't been able to win, I guess, in the history. Haven't been able to win it. Not a long history, but we haven't been able to win up there. Playing for the Battle Line. They certainly have, a really good team, 23rd in the country, well coached, schematics. Are very good. They run the stretch, the inside zone. They run a little bit more inside zone this year, running it really well. Got a really good offensive line coach. Brady Cook makes them go, obviously, and you know, uh, Luther Burden and Theo. They're really. I don't know if Theo gets enough credit because he's a outstanding wide receiver with Cooper. They're good on the O line, D line wise. They're very talented. You got some good pass rushers. Linebackers can run. Good in the secondary. Good on special teams. They've got a fine football team and well coached. And but we're looking forward to going up there. It's a little different, playing them on Saturday instead of playing them on Friday. But trophy game, and we're excited to get it up there.
So if you're an Arkansas fan, who are you supposed to hate? Who's supposed to be your rival? And where would Missouri rank up there in your rivalry echelon, I guess?
Well, I think Missouri is right up there at the top of rivals for us. I think if you ask our team, I think obviously we have several trophy games, and one of them just went out. But I would think Missouri would be one, Texas certainly would be one, LSU would be one, but I think Missouri ranks up there at the top.
Forcing turnovers. You guys had, I think, 5 defensive touchdowns last year, and not as many.
Yeah, I think we led the country in defensive touchdowns.
So is getting them? Is it more of a random thing? But because this same defensive coordinator, a lot of the same players, is it random, or is there some skill to getting them?
Well, I think obviously you're trying to rip the ball out. You're trying to intercept them and take them back. We just haven't had a lot. We haven't had a lot of takeaways this year. If they do, a lot of times they come in spurts in one game. We haven't been consistent with that, and those are certainly things we're working on. But to answer your question, I think I think they happen. You force them to happen with hard hits, like what happened to us on Saturday. But we've got to get better at that. I do think we're swarming the ball better the last couple of weeks than we have since the Tennessee game, and so I think they'll come.
I was wondering how much you push that idea that Arkansas has never won in Columbia. I think 0-6 all time. Do you talk about that a lot with the players, or is it just focusing on this year?
I think that's part of it. On Monday you have a presentation of their football team, and I think that certainly is part of it. Anything that you think can be a little bit more of a motivator, which they shouldn't need anything else. We're playing for a trophy. We're playing Missouri. They're a rival game for us. They beat hell out of us last year. That should motivate us. The problem is a lot of the kids that are on the team and playing weren't here last year too. So you have to find different ways to motivate. That's my job. Instead of just going, well, it's Missouri, it's a rival. So yes, to answer your question, I think that's part of it.
And you talked a little bit about Brady, but what are your thoughts on him as a quarterback? What makes him go? Obviously, he's a veteran for him.
I think leadership and his competitiveness and the team. I forget what game it was. I think it was Auburn when he was hurt and then came back, and you could just see the team, and so I think his leadership skill, he's a really good player. But I think what he brings to the team with his legs, his arm, and his leadership is what, he's won a lot of games as a starting quarterback at Missouri. So certainly having him back for Missouri puts a lot more on his ability to run. We have to watch that, and of course he throws the deep ball and play action about as good as anybody.
Before the season, you and Coach Petrino talked a lot about how it seemed like Talon just needed to improve a lot in technique and fundamentals and getting over the top more. Do you feel like he's done that now that we're, in the last week of the season?
I do. I think Talon is improving and doing a good job for us. And there's every quarterback in the country is going to miss a wide open throw every now and then. But I think he's improving on us, and I'm glad he's our quarterback.
We've talked a lot about protection with him this year. Just how much of, when he has had struggles, how much of that is protection? And then when he's done well, how much of it has been overcoming protection issues?
Well, he can make plays. I mean, getting outside the pocket. I think the Auburn game comes to my mind. When he's running to the left and threw it 65 or so to Satania. And he can, he's valuable with his feet once he gets out there. But I think any quarterback in the country, if he's protected well, even Saturday, I think Talon got a little jittery back there on a 3-man rush. He didn't need to. But those are things I think as he continues to play, he'll get better at. But to answer your question, I think I don't think there's any quarterback can play well under duress all the time, including NFL quarterbacks. So I think he's handled it pretty well.
I think Nico might have shared on social media that he had surgery. Do you just provide an update on Nico Davier?
Yeah, he's got a cartilage, and we don't know if it's, they can never tell you whether it's repairable or whether they trim it. Obviously, as New Wave, they're repairing more cartilages than what they used to. Obviously, if they're able to do that. So we won't really know. He's going to have his surgery this afternoon, and we really won't know whether it's a trim, which could get him back for the bowl game, or it's a repair, which is about a 5-month full recovery.
It seems like you guys are getting some really good play from the linebacker group. I'm just wondering, how vital is that too? You only play 2 at a time in that 3-2-6. How big have those guys been in your ability to play that formation?
Yeah, huge, and it's all of them. Obviously we haven't had Switzer, but he'll be back this week. But with Dix and Sorey and Spence, and of course young Shaw now, those are guys that I think a lot of people would like to have. We're happy that we have them. They're playing better. The one that really sticks out is Spence. I think Spence is really, really, he's proven to be a good pass rusher. Got a couple of sacks the last 2 games. But that room right there, when the portal opened last year and, the world was coming to an end, we went out and got us some pretty good players in there and kept, obviously recruited Shaw, but was able to keep Spence, and I like that room. We need to keep them all, all 4 of them. We need to get them back next year, and so we'll go to work on that pretty soon.
Have they? I mean, like you guys were impressed with them in fall camp, but have they that group, that position, even exceeded your expectations?
I think anytime you really don't know what you have, you've seen them play. Sorey had limited action over at Georgia, and Dix, obviously he played a little bit more. But when you really don't know, Switzer's same way. Are you going to move him from safety to linebacker? When you really don't know what you have, and you're just looking at them in the weight room and they're running in the off season, you get excited because their athletic ability. Are they physical? Can they learn? Are they going to make a lot of mistakes? Are they not? Are they leaders? Because that group has to be. They probably have exceeded what even I thought they would be.
Staying on the defense, that 3-2-6, y'all used it quite a bit on Saturday. Was that because of low numbers at defensive end, or was it also just the schematics of Louisiana Tech, or kind of what went into that decision?
Yeah, probably a little bit of combination. To be honest with you, the other thing is we can't let guys behind us, and so that was a thought in it as well. Can we get to the edge fast enough to help the 3 down linemen? We felt like they were going to try to run on the edge on us. Can we get there enough? Which, if you're in that formation, you don't want them to run up the middle. You want them to run on the edge. That we felt like that's where they would try to do the most damage to us. So that part of the schematics off of what they do was part of the reason as well.
A bit of a random question, but I noticed the last couple of weeks that Kobe Branham has gotten in there
Yeah.
as y'all sixth offensive lineman. Just what has he done to get on the field this year, late this year, and where do you envision him kind of fitting in on the offensive line moving forward?
Well, first of all, for him to get out there as a freshman and in key situation, you're looking at goal line. Basically, what he's playing right now is a huge compliment to him. I fully expect that he battles for a starting position in spring ball. I do. I think he's special. I think he's well coached in high school, but he's just a special kid, and I expect him to battle in there at one of those guard spots this spring. But to answer your question, it's just because of his performance in practice.
You mentioned the two Missouri receivers. They've got a pair of running backs too that seem to be having a great
Yeah.
season. How important is it for them, their running game, to what they do overall?
I think it's what they do. I mean, I think they're for years they've been a great stretch team, and they still are. And you can tell when times get hard for them, or they want to run the clock out, or whatever, they will run that stretch, and they're specific plays off of it. I've just noticed this year that they're a lot better inside zone team. I mean, they're able to do both, which makes them a little harder to prepare for. The kid from Noel, the guy from App State, hard running guy, fast. Again, can really read what he needs to read. Missouri is one of the teams, very few teams that cut. They cut on, and it's legal, and they cut on the backside of the play, which opens some holes back there. We're going to have to really work on that this week. But I think both those kids are hard running. They're Missouri type backs, like the guy they had last year, just super special. But they run hard like that, and they have good vision.
Yeah, Sam, you got in the ball a little bit. Did Jordan Anthony's obviously a track guy with some good speed. What do you thought about his season?
Well, I think it would have escalated if he hadn't, had a foot injury. He's been hurt a little bit, Bob, but I like what he hasn't had the production in games that we'd like for it to. I think caught a pass down the middle against maybe Mississippi State for a touchdown, but I like him. It's difficult because he's a world. I mean, he's fast, and he's going to help our track team too. So when we recruited him, it was you can do track in the spring, help us in football when you can, so for him to get a lot of spring ball and all that with how successful he can be in track, and he likes track, it's been a little bit difficult. So we'll have to figure that out this spring. But I do like the ability that he's had to catch. I think he's grown in his catching, and so I like him. I think he's got a bright future here.
You're going for your third SEC road win. I should have looked it up. Arkansas has not done that very often because you've already won it at Mississippi State and at Auburn, and you gave Oklahoma State a tough game. Obviously, what do you think is the key to you guys playing pretty well on the road? And is that something you can kind of harp on with the guys this week?
You take the 74 guys, and it's a close-knit group. It's kind of, those are us against everybody type games. Obviously, you would hope that you would play better at home just because of the fans and the crowd noise, but we've been able to handle the noise, probably is the biggest thing. We've been able to handle the noise, and that's a lot. We haven't had a lot of offsides penalties or illegal procedure penalties on the road. But I'd attribute to just basically we're taking the 74, we're us against the world mentality, and our ability to handle the noise.